So it was silent after I performed that song. And then 200 people stood up in this packed audience. And they were cheering and clapping, and I could see the front row. They were crying, and everyone was so moved, and all I could think was, I have to get away. I need to run away. And as they're, cheering for this encore performance, I go backstage to my husband, who was my boyfriend then. I said, I can't do this. And so how many times have we wanted to run away from our own greatness? Yeah, someone with me, amen out there? Who knows why we get frightened by that moment? I think it's that human part of us, and yet that divine part of us knows, oh man, those kinds of experiences are endless. At least I would guess we could have those every day, I don't know. But so there I was with this moment that I could not deny, but I do have to tell you and be honest that I have tried to deny the universe, or step away from my greatness many times. And thank God this loving universe will not let me out of my contract. It is binding. And I'm going to guess it's the same for you. That whatever you're being called to be and do in the world, that, you'll be gently nudged there, sometimes pulled. As, an example is how you found yourself at the center. That's just one example of how we are led or pulled to this unfolding. So I want to share a little bit more about this story. So as you can see, even though I played piano since the first grade, I played for all the weekly masses. I went to all-girls Catholic school, so played all the masses. I sang at all the I sang every morning, Star Spangled Banner. By the time I was a junior and senior in high school, I had a rock band. We had a manager, and we toured the island. Woohoo! All the malls. Everyone at the malls knew it. And I actually released my first song and first album by senior year, and yet I had this fear. I hadn't tapped into the joy yet of my music. I think it was still up here and it hadn't gotten down here. This moment, though, that I talked about was so undeniable, right? It's like a spiritual 2x4. Even though I was scared, I knew I had to relent to what was next. So I went to Cal State Long Beach, and that's where I live now, for the commercial music program. And surprised me when I found out commercial music was jazz. Now, growing up in Hawaii, all my musician friends are always like quoting or talking about different musicians, and I'm like, I'm sorry, we just heard like Hawaiian music and Rick Dees. It was very limited. So when they said I had to do jazz, I'm like, well, where's the pop music? This thing that you guys hear me that I'm doing now. And I found out to get to the jazz, I had to do classical. And so I think that's just such a great example of sometimes when, you think you're going this way and the universe throws a little curveball. And as always, it was a blessing, because when I graduated college, I had so much more to offer. I can go, or, do whatever I need to do. I can read music, and it was just, I'm better for it because of that curveball. And so after I graduated, I started teaching singing lessons. And I have to share Bert, a student I had, Bert, who has just been with me all these years. He called me, his voice quivering on the phone, asking if he could take voice lessons. He was in his 70s. And I said, of course, yes, And what he told me about was the moment when he was 4 years old, and he could barely make it through this story, but the moment that his mom took away his tap shoes. For whatever reason, told him, you're not going to do this anymore. And to him, it closed him down. All of his creativity, his art. And there was this pain, this man in his 70s who was still this 4-year-old child whose music was taken away from him, right? And so I said, of course you can. So he showed up for a lesson, and he brought his music. He loved Elvis Presley, so he had those songs there. Well, Bert had 1 or 2 teeth. He had emphysema, so he couldn't breathe very well. And when I played this note, he'd sing that note. And whenever we tried to make it through a song, it was pretty much impossible because he was just crying. And I thought to myself, wow, what am I gonna do here? And as in life, really the key was to keep showing up. And I just, in faith, just I was open and thought I could serve some way just by being here and letting him unfold through his process. Well, we found out he was a great songwriter. And yeah, and his songs were inspired by, he would fall in love with these women who were way, way younger than him. And they inspired, amazing songs, And I tell you, we didn't go into a fancy studio, but I had a little 4-track, and we recorded those songs, and he sang through them, and we got them on tape before he passed away. So can you imagine, he had the courage at 70 to not let that music die with him. And so I always think of Bert when I share this story. So while I was doing those voice lessons, I was in the auditioning world out in LA. And I told the earlier service, I wasn't going to include it, but it's so funny. I think you'd appreciate this. When I'm first starting, I don't know anything about it. So I see my first casting notice, and it's for the Grand Ole Opry. I am not a fit, but I'm like, yes, let's go. So I show up, and I probably sang a Whitney Houston song, and not the one that Dolly Parton wrote, I probably sang, I want to dance with somebody, but then I was a lost girl once we did the dancing portion, country, I don't know what, I look ridiculous. So I wish I could have the attitude I have now, because it was great fun when I look back, but when you're there, you know what I mean? So I auditioned for all the Disney, what they call them, the cattle calls, for Miss Saigon, and it was a wild experience, but man, it really challenges your ego, and at that point, that's all I connected with who I was that part of me. So after 2 whole months of auditioning, guess what happened? Yeah, I quit. I can't do it, no. So instead, I traded that life for the glamorous life of a file clerk at Michelson Laboratories. Woohoo! I am such a go-getter that I must say in 6 months I was the assistant to the vice president. And as we're sitting in 100-something degree weather at the company picnic, right, I had planned the potato sack race and the volleyball thing and I'm just watching this chaos. When you stand there and you're in that, you have that moment when you're like, what am I doing here? Where's the music? So I went back and started auditioning again, and my very first job, I was part of a girl group, and there were 2 of us singing in front and backup dancers, and do you know they flew us all the way to Taj Mahal, Atlantic City, to sing one song, We Are Family. Picked us up in a limo. I wore this pink pleather thing and fishnet stocking, the whole bit, just a different look from today. And it was an amazing experience, but again, I was not in the gratitude of that. Instead, this is what I took with me. I'll show you the 2 things. Is we're sitting having our makeup done, and they're doing the other girl, Sonia, and she's gorgeous, okay? And she's the one that taught me how to put falsies on, like lashes, and how to make my bra so, whatever, it looks perfect. I don't know. Don't listen, man. Okay, anyway. We're just perfect. Okay. So they're putting on her makeup and they say, oh, Sonia, you are just so beautiful. And by the way, this is for a huge Vietnamese concert. I think there were 10,000 Vietnamese people that came, and all these Vietnamese stars, and I'm Filipino, just in case you're curious. And they said, oh, Sonia, you're just so gorgeous. You're just so beautiful. And then they're doing my makeup, and they say, Laura. Yeah, first of all, my name is not Laura. And I find out later when I look in the program, they have changed my name to Laura because they can't pronounce Faith. So I'm really not in my being, Oh, and Laura, you are just so sweet. And the way I heard that was, you're not gorgeous. So, thank God for these teachings, because at that point you can tell I was in victim mode and letting everything from the outside affect my experience. But I know, looking back, that was a pretty cool experience for my first gig. And shortly after that, I became the keyboard player for this artist on the Interscope label. His name was Xavier, and I swear I thought he was going to be the next Prince. He was eccentric. It was rock and R&B and funk, and I played keyboards for him. And, before I came on, I heard, because he was on a label, they had a fancy tour, like before I went on. It was like with the bus and like 4 backup singers and, that whole bit, but he thought it wasn't in integrity with his music, because his music was so raw. So I was part of the raw tour. Traveling across, in a little RV, and oh my gosh, I forgot to mention this in first service. Do you know what we were called? Me calling home to tell my mom, Mom, my band's name is Dead from Sex. Yeah. Bless her heart, she did not disown me. And thank God we didn't have YouTube and people capturing me, so she could probably just imagine. I don't know what she imagined. Oh. So we played everywhere from House of Blues Los Angeles to House of Blues New Orleans. He's still cracking up. You'll get over it. Okay, wait. Focus. Where am I? Oh, there I am. Okay. So we're in, and we'd open for like Morris Day and the Time and Speech and all this kind of fun stuff. Ask me later about New Orleans. I have more funny stories. Okay, anyway. So we're in Portland, and he runs off the stage, and we go back to our RV, and this is Xavier. He's kind of dripping with sweat, and he didn't really talk to me that much, So he went, "Hey, Faith," and I'm like, "Yes." I was like, he's talking to me. This is all he said. He said, "You got to do your own thing." And when you're ready, you just need a little like that. And I'm like, oh, wait, I could write my own music and do, so that's all I needed. And I went home after that tour, started my little label, and did my first album entitled In Search of Faith. And it really was about me finding out, who I was now as an artist, what was my message through this music. And also it was reflective of my faith, my spiritual faith. Even though I'd grown up Catholic all those years, danced a little bit with atheism in college, and then I decided my world was a lot better with a God in it, This album was really, this time for me was a time of really understanding what that faith was. And at that time, a friend had given me Neil Donald Walsh's book, Conversations with God. Many of you, yeah. That was, for me, the pivotal book where, once I read those things in there, I couldn't go back, kind of like Dorothy, you saw the wizard, you can't change it. And that's why we're all still here. And the most important part about those teachings is that I am responsible for my experience. And so that's when things began to change for me. My sweet husband, he, while I'm, trying to make it in the music industry, has the talk with me where he sits me down and says, "Honey, if you're gonna continue and do your music, I need you to contribute to the family." And, the way I heard it was, I thought like, he doesn't believe in the dream. But really, he was trying to bring me, what I love about this spiritual teaching is it's great for us to just say things, but how do we live it in our life? And he was asking me to put it on the ground. Okay, so I started a spreadsheet, my little Excel spreadsheet, tracking every single dollar I got, through my music. And by it, that first year I made $14,000, with music. And through learning and applying these principles of tithing and, all these prosperity practices, affirmations, I'm telling you, I look back now and I kind of trip out. I doubled my income the next year and then tripled it. And then I'd like to say just kept going every year, but yes, somehow I'm not perfect, so I got affected by the recession a little bit. It just plateaued, but it was awesome still, And the way I see it is just our challenge to really, show the abundance from which we come from, whether, it's the number or just how I feel. So here I was. I joined the union, AFTRA and SAG. This is the organization that everyone joins that you hear on the radio and on TV. So I joined it. I took sight singing classes. I was out there, with the schmoozing, meeting all the vocal contractors, sending out my demos. And in the midst of all that, I saw this web banner on the internet that said Humanities Team. Neil Donald Walsh was putting together this gathering of people that wanted to live the principles in CWG, Conversations with God, much deeper. I'd never been to anything like that, not a retreat, not a speaker, nothing. So this was weird, out of my box. And I thought, I need to go to this. So I tell my husband, and I think, he paused for a second, which, thank God, to think about it. And he said, okay, if you really want to go to this weird thing, you can spend the money you've been saving to replace your college keyboard. Makes sense. I'm doing music. I need a keyboard. He said, if you're willing to use that money to go, he said, I'll go with you. So I said, let's do the weird thing. So we went off to Oregon. Went to this humanities team gathering, and not only did I get to meet, Neil Donald Walsh, who I'd end up working with him and for his organization, and that's a whole other story, and Barbara Marx Hubbard, Dennis Weaver was there, just these amazing teachers. But even more than that, what really impacted upon me were the 1,000 people that came from around the world that were compelled, that were called, really called to be there. And it just moved me because, when I grew up, I don't know about you, but I just didn't feel like everyone cared about the same things that I cared about. So that was such a special moment for me. And while we were there was a breakout session, and my partner's name was Charlie, and they just simply asked, what is your gift? What can you do in the world, to be this change? And so I had Charlie, and, he saw me sing already, so he goes, well, Faith, I don't sing, and I don't garden. And he went through a whole list of things he doesn't do, and I thought, oh my God, please find, I'm kind of feeling bad for him. He goes, I'm not technical, I'm not. And then a light bulb went off at the end of his mutterings of what he can't do. He said, I can love. And he owned it, and at that moment, I realized that everyone really does have a part to play, whether it's through like the most awesome cookies, and I'm willing to try them. Your jewelry, maybe it's your presence, the way you show up in the world. Everyone has a part to play. And I was sitting in the audience, and I swear I thought Neil was talking to me when he said, you're the first domino to fall. I'm like, I am? And what he meant was, we each need to step into whatever is next and calling us so that all the other things will happen. And I'm sure you can recall maybe when you first brought one here or when you were brought here, how did that moment unfold so that it ends up impacting really everyone when you keep saying yes and showing up and letting your domino fall, I guess. And it really inspired this song. You'll see my little journal out there, which has the songs I'm singing today. It's called The World Is Waiting for You. I was so on fire with that moment when he did that to me that I wrote a whole song that night. The amazing thing is, this conference, which was held in Oregon, was the campus that hosted it was the Living Enrichment Center, which was led by Mary Mannon Morrissey, who is like my dear friend, like my second mom. She did our 10-year anniversary recently. And it was there. I didn't know about her or her ministry. And, being clueless is sometimes good because you don't know you have any limitations. I said, can I sing there? Did not know there was a waiting list, And she chose this one song of mine called Kumbaya, which I really wrote for myself. It's not like the normal one. And another woman was like, you wrote Kumbaya? I'm like, no, that was from slavery days. So no, mine is really different. It's electronic dance groove with Eastern. It's very different. About the law of attraction. So I thought it was a bit strange. I thought, they want me to share what I thought was a really personal teaching song for myself. So I sing this song for 1,000 people in every service. She has 3 services. 3,000 people, I'm sharing one song. I sell more CDs in that morning than I sold in a year. And all of a sudden, there was my calling. There were the people I could serve with my music and that would support me. And I just have to throw this in, there's a wonderful book called The Wealthy Spirit by Chelly Campbell. And she first taught me about this idea of dolphins. Because doing music, my album before that, I was just trying to get it out to anyone, and then you'd feel hurt or rejected, you just try to. This idea of dolphins is that you have your dolphins. There's tunas that are not yours, and there might be sharks, but your dolphins, the people that you are going to reach, you're going to reach them no problem. There doesn't even have to be an effort in the sense of, I was trying like this versus graceful trying of stepping into my passion. And so I loved it. I had found my dolphins, and I didn't know you guys are all over the country and all over the world. And so, 5 minutes, okay, good. Wow, it's working out, all right. And I think when you find your calling, it finally brought me that peace I was looking for. So, and I don't want to say that I wasn't afraid anymore, but I could finally tap into the joy of this thing that I love to do. I wasn't in the here, I was in here with it. And I found as I've deepened my spiritual walk, as I've surrendered, my career and my life, amazing things unfolded. That was the year I won the Emmy. And I don't know if I have time to share the whole story, but that song, I did not strategize or try to win an Emmy. That's what I'm trying to say. Events unfolded, including the actor whom we wrote the song for, that we were writing him off the show. He died in surgery. He was a young man, 23 years old. And that's really what brought this song attention. You can't plan these things that unfold. So I just want to offer you, that idea of what is calling you next. And that even if you're, not even if, and if you're a little afraid or anxious, it's because it's something good. That's the way I've been reframing things. So I'm going to ask the band to slowly make their way up here while I finish here with a quote by Marianne Williamson that has meant so much to me. And I can humbly say that, when I first read this, it would make me cry and it get me, but I feel like I'm living it more now, and I let me just share it with you. Many of you know this, and if you do, just say it out loud with me. She says, our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, and famous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God, and your playing small does not serve the world. Did we hear that? Our playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that people won't feel insecure around you. We were born to make manifest to the glory of God that is within us. And it's not just in some of us, it's in all of us. And when we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. And this is my favorite line. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. You don't even have to do anything. You just show up in your bling. So with that feeling of knowing your blingness, I just want you to take this song. It's titled Called to Be, and I wrote it for Mary, Man and Morrissey, and the Living Enrichment Center the very next year for their Adventures in Faith series. A question, just asking us, what are we called to be? Called to be a healer for all humanity. I am called to be a dreamer, believe in what can be. I am called to be a maker, be an instrument of peace. I am called to be a giver, of abundance I receive. I am called to be a prayer, living out the truth I seek. I am called to be everything. I am called to be. Called to be the glory here on earth so all might see. All the love and all the beauty that shines in you and me. I am the living, breathing God, and you are one in me. Yes, we're called to be. You are called to be a mother, to to nurture family. You are called to be a brother, be strength in times of need. You are called to be a neighbor, see a friend in all you meet. You are called to be a leader, to build community. You are called to be a prayer, living out the truth you seek. You are called to be everything. You are called to be the glory here on earth, so all might see all the love and all the beauty that shines in you and me. You are the living, breathing God, and you are one in me. Yes, we're called to be. We are called to be the kindness, set the brokenhearted free. We are called to be forgiveness, where pain has run too deep. We are called to be compassion, be the wind beneath each wing. We are called to make communion, only then can we succeed. We are called to be a prayer, living out the truth we seek. We are called to be everything. We are called to be, yeah, called to be the glory here on earth, so all might see all the love and all the beauty that shines in you and me. We are the living, breathing God, and you are one in me. Yes, we're called to be. Called to be love, to be light, to be joy, to be peace. We are called to be the kindness, forgiveness, compassion. Oh yes, you and me. We're called to be everything and anything, everything and anything. Called to be love and light and joy and peace and beauty, freedom. Ah, yeah, 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 yeah. We're called to be love. Oh, we're called to be. I'm going to ask you in this moment just to turn within. What is Spirit calling you to next? And not only calling you to do, but to be. What is wanting to express through your life more? What fun, what joy, what brilliance is just like right there, wanting to experience itself here. And in this moment, we know that when you say yes to your calling, that there's not only joy for you, there's not only fulfillment and peace, but your presence will simply uplift others. You will give other people the permission to follow their call. Oh God, what a beautiful cycle. What a beautiful thing that happens when you let your domino fall. And you let it fall good. And you surrender to sweet Spirit. So we're going to take a deep breath in. And with a gentle breath out, we're going to quiet our minds. We're going to tap into the stillness. Feel into what wants to happen next. Clear our hearts, open our ears and our minds to what is calling to us next in the silence. know that there is only one life, one presence, one song that wants to be sung through us, as us. You know this to be God, to be the presence of the divine that is truly in every corner, every nook and cranny of our lives. If we just look with fresh eyes, we know that God is there and that we are supported. Whatever we choose to do or be, wherever we're being called to next, there is sweet God, the divine spirit. It is our life seeking to be more through us and as us. And how beautiful to be in a community like this that can share in those dreams, that can share in those callings, that can support each other and say, yes, we see you, we hear you, and we want more for you. So in this moment, I simply claim peace, joy, love, fun, as we individually and as a community say yes to the next bigger, greater experience of God that's wanting to happen as our lives. There's really nothing more to do than to listen, to release, and know that it unfolds perfectly as us, because that perfection is our divine heritage. It is who we are. So there is no misstep, no matter what it looks like. There's only love unfolding as us. I release this prayer now, and know that each of our lives will be that prayer continued out, played out, that our lives will be that song sung full out. And we promise to each other and to sweet life that our song will not be unsung, because we say yes and yes, yes. Thank you, and so it is. Amen.